Okay, and the last question for today is from Dinika, and it's about food aggression. She's only just recently joined the membership, so welcome, Dinika. It's great to have you on board. She's got some troubles with her mare, and one of them is food aggression. She can become very threatening if you go near her while she's eating. 2 years and multiple techniques haven't made any difference, and some of the more traditional methods she feels have made her worse. So she'd really like your take on this. She's just not sure how she can help her mare not be so food aggressive. And I guess this is aggressive towards her as a person while she's eating, not other horses.
Something I say to people is food aggression, you don't have food aggression like in horses that grow up on grass because and they've got a happy life. So who knows the horse's past, but like a lot of horses with food aggression, I'll give you an example, say for instance it's a stabled horse. Gets stabled, put out once a week, maybe worked in an arena. It's quite stressed in the arena because it gets jammed up in the arena and hit with a stick, and it's never quite soft in the arena. Goes back into its stable, it's a bit stressed. The highlight of its day is food. So, and it becomes like an addiction because if you're in a stressed environment, then eating becomes your like it's not the endorphin, but you know that fix that you get. So it's something that you go, oh, that's more, that, you know. So when so that's why you get a lot of food aggression, because it becomes like a bit of an addiction for a horse that has a lot of other things that are stressful in its life, where normal horses in a herd won't have that addiction because their life has a balance of, you know, mutual grooming with other horses, just standing under a tree, you know, just moving about softly with the other horses and just being in a good mindset. So there's no kind of, oh, this is the best part of my day, because there's a lot more things that are good in their day that are happening, so they don't get that food aggression. So most horses with food aggression will be hand fed. They don't get an access to enough grazing and stuff like that. And also there's other aspects in their life that are quite stressful. So, you know, I could go through the whole lot, but I want you to look at all those things, and you might have adjusted that, you know, in your life with your horse, but it could be from a past life of your horse that the food aggressions really come from. But something I would say is, if you've got your horse in a grassy environment, and a lot of people don't have grass, so put your hay out there, your slow feeder hay that they can just have all the time, so they're not kind of so they've got food in their tummy all the time. Now, there's still horses that have hay and they've still got food aggression at clinics, as I say, because it's ingrained in them around food, okay? The biggest thing is you don't want to be very dominant, and you don't want to be like some alpha horse that's going to push them off their hay. The other thing is horses that are sort of got really strong food aggression, I try and not interfere with them when they're eating. That's the most important thing for a little while. Not all the time, until you can get them out of food aggression, okay? At a clinic a while ago, I had a horse that had food aggression, and, you know, as I said just earlier on, you don't want to be like approaching them aggressively like an alpha horse, because that causes the conflict and the rift between them. But something that I do to start the process, I guess, of getting a horse to soften near food, is in this particular horse, I had a food bucket, and that made her very aggressive, me having the food bucket. But I had her on a long rope, and I would just keep stopping her. I'd have the flag in my hand, and I was doing, I own the food. It's my food. It's not your food. And I taught her to walk softly, one step at a time, up to the food, and then gently eat it quietly while I was standing there. And that was kind of a way of teaching her to come to the food softly, and when she was soft, she could eat food. So she came to the food, and I had the food near me, so she could eat near me softly. And that was probably the start of her starting to sort of eat softly near someone. But I wouldn't try and come into her space once she's got the food. And it could be a lesson that you do for some time, because if it's an old habit ingrained, like an old addiction, I suppose, then you might have to do it every day, like a transition. Come softly to the food, join me, we'll break bread together. And, you know, like when you see two young horses, like I was just at the Western States Horse Expo, and they had a group of these young yearling Mustangs there, and they're all just kind of eating hay out of the same spot, you know, because they get fed, I guess, you know, because these weren't straight off the wild. They go to these like BLM paddocks, the Bureau of Land Management sort of yards, and they kind of all just eat hay, but it's all gets thrown in together, so they just all kind of just chew through the hay like they're out in the wild. So, and they're just eating hay beside each other. There's no food aggression and stuff like that. So basically, you kind of, you know, you teach her one step at a time to come to you, and she eats the hay beside you, so she learns to eat beside you and feel not threatened. Don't go into her space for it until she's a lot softer, and that'll really help her out. But as I say, if you can do those other things, you know, food that she can eat kind of all the time, and look at all the other things in her life where there might be a dark mindset. You know, is her training good? Does she feel good? Is she going towards her thoughts when you train her? Is she, you know, all those other things contribute to food being the highlight of a day. And if we're making her feel troubled, like if the person's making the horse feel troubled when we work them, they don't want us near their food because that's their highlight. That's their kind of like good place. So I say to everyone, you know, that's why I don't do food aggression methods, because if that food aggression is stemmed from a bad feeling from education from the person, then you fix that bad feeling from education, and then all of a sudden you get less food aggression. So,
and it is fixable.
And it is fixable.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. It is fixable. Like it's like old habits. It is hard to fix, but like, you know, if you can, I believe anything you can create a soft mindset if you work hard at it. But it's not just to sort of rouse on them, kind of, you know, shoo them off. You know, it's more so let's educate this horse to be soft. So as I said, the one that had food aggression, she had to be soft, and every time she took a step, she had to soften and just until she could just put her head in the bucket. And I softly and eat nice and softly, and so she'd already let go of the hard emotion by the time she got to the food. And it's a tough lesson, but if you do it, you should get some good results.